The Terran Dominion, Beginnings.
In the sprawling Milky Way galaxy, humanity had risen first to explore and conquer the cosmos. Their empire, the Terran Dominion, spanned multiple solar systems, their technology hundreds of years ahead of any other species, and their power had no rival. At the helm of the empire, with Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the 24th emperor, known as a wise ruler, it was an age of prosperity, pace, and culture. Over time, they watched 5 new species risen slowly among the stars, but mankind kept hidden and watched them from afar. These species were the Drakvians, reptilian warriors known for their brute strength, the Silpha, ethereal beings capable of manipulating energy, the Arex, a spider-like species with unmatched strategic minds, the Xyla, amphibious tacticians with advanced aquatic technology, the Corans, insectoid beings with a hive mentality and rapid adaptability, and the Takari, shapeshifters who excelled in espionage and sabotage. Among them, the Drakvians had better technology than the other 4, so they expended faster and were the first to reach one colony of Terran Dominion. By mistake, yes, a mistake that will haunt them and the entire galaxy for generations to come. On Dravak Prime, the capital city of Zargath stood as a testament to the Drakvian strength and architectural prowess. Towering spires and massive fortresses made of black stone and steel rose from the ground, each structure adorned with the trophies of past victories.
The Drakvians had always been a race that respected power and might, and their architecture reflected this ethos. In the heart of Zargath lay the Conclave of Scales, the central seat of Drakvian governance. The conclave was a vast, circular arena surrounded by tiered seating where the most powerful Drakvians convened to discuss matters of state, war, and honor. At the center of the conclave stood the High Warlord Therakvarn, a towering figure clad in intricately crafted armor that bore the marks of numerous battles. His scales were a deep crimson, signifying his noble lineage and countless victories. Therak's eyes, a piercing yellow, scanned the gathered leaders with a mix of authority and expectation. To his right was Skarneth, the chief tactician, known for his brilliant mind and strategic acumen. Unlike many Drakvians, Skarneth's scales were a muted green, a mark of his intellect rather than physical prowess. He was responsible for devising the battle plans that had brought Dravak Prime many victories against both internal and external threats. On Therak's left was Zarana, the War Priestess. Clad in ceremonial armor, her scales shimmered with an iridescent hue, reflecting her role as both a spiritual leader and a warrior. Zarana's role was to ensure that the Drakvians remained true to their warrior's code, and that their battles were fought with honor. As the leaders took their places, the arena filled with the murmurs of anticipation. The Conclave of Scales was not just a council, it was a spectacle where decisions were often punctuated with displays of strength and combat prowess. Today's gathering was of particular importance, as it would determine the Drakvians' next move in the galactic dominance. Therak Varn raised his hand, calling for silence. Warriors of Dravak Prime, he began, his voice echoing through the arena. Our scouts exploring a new solar system for habitable planets have discovered a colony that is occupied by a new species. For now, we don't know if that solar system is their home or not, but from what information we could gather, we came to the conclusion that this species is pacifist and their technology does not surpass our technology. As you know, our planets are overpopulated, and this system has 4 planets that can be inhabited by us and 6 other planets with an abundance of resources that are vital to our army. Today, we gathered here to make a decision on how to proceed to take that system. Skarneth stepped forward, his sharp mind already at work. High Warlord, since it is just a small colony, we should strike fast and hard. Not only that, we have to take a strong fleet to demonstrate our power. We should conquer the system quickly and leave one of our fleet there. We should conquer the system quickly and leave one of our flotillas there as a fear factor. It will help us in the future in negotiations, or even as a vanguard to conquer their home planet if necessary. The arena buzzed with approval. The Drakvians respected direct action, and Skarneth's plan resonated with their warrior ethos. One of the leaders stood up and asked, "Don't you think we are moving too fast? We should examine the situation better before making such an important decision." His name was Goru. Zarana, the War Priestess, raised her voice, Leader Goru, I understand that you are worried about certain aspects, but you also know our traditions, and not to mention that we have not met anyone who could face us. Let us not forget our honor. We must face our enemies head-on and show them the true might of Dravak Prime. Our warriors must be prepared to fight not only with strength, but with the spirit of our ancestors. Harak Varn nodded, considering the words of his advisors. We will combine our strengths, he declared. Skarneth, prepare the tactical plans for the strikes on the colony. Zorana, rally our warriors and prepare them for the battles to come. We will strike swiftly and decisively. The leaders of the conclave pounded their chests in unison, sign of agreement and solidarity. The Drakvians were ready to unleash their might upon this new solar system. The Terran Dominion, Beginnings. Chapter 2. The Siege of Varnus IV. Varnus IV was the first colony that was posted in that solar system, and it was young. Only 5 years old. Most of the people were workers, researchers, and military personnel for protection. In total, there were only 100,000 people. As for the defense, it was non-existent. Small platforms with weapons, a few fighters, and 2 civilian spaceships in orbit that were used for resupply. The colony's sky was filled with the activity of countless drones and shuttles. Oblivious to the impending doom, High Warlord Therak Varn stood on the bridge of the Drakvian flagship, Wrath of Dravak, a colossal dreadnought bristling with weapons. Around him, the Drakvian fleet gathered frigates, battleships, and destroyers, all ready for battle. Therak's eyes glowed with anticipation as he gazed at the holographic display of Varnus IV. Warriors of Dravak, today, we strike a blow that will be felt across the galaxy, Therak proclaimed. Today, you are part of history, when the Drakvians will add another solar system under their name. Prepare for battle. The Drakvian fleet emerged from hyperspace on the edge of the Varnus IV system. Alarms blared across the Terran colony as the massive warships appeared. Human defenses scrambled to respond, but the speed and coordination of the Drakvian attack caught them off guard. The Wrath of Dravak led the charge, its massive railguns firing kinetic projectiles that ripped through the outer defenses. Following closely were the destroyers, Fang of Zargath and Stormclaw, which unleashed volleys of plasma torpedoes, targeting key installations and defensive platforms. Frigates like Shadowstrike and Viperfang darted between the larger ships, their rapid-fire cannons and point defense systems, engaging Terran fighter squadrons. The sky above Varnus IV became a chaotic dance of laser fire and explosions. Above the planet, the Wrath of Dravak targeted the shipyards, launching devastating strikes that sent debris raining down onto the colony below. Skarneth, the chief tactician, monitored the battle from his command station, issuing orders with precision. With the space battle tipping in favor of the Drakvians, Therak Varn gave the order to commence the ground invasion. Dropships, heavily armored and bristling with weapons, descended from the Drakvian ships, piercing the atmosphere of Varnus IV. Zorana, the war priestess, led the ground forces, her voice echoing through the coms as she inspired her warriors. Drakvians, today, we fight not just for glory, but for the future of our people. Show no mercy and take this world for Dravak. The Drakvian dropships landed amidst the industrial sectors of the colony, deploying wave after wave of reptilian warriors. Equipped with plasma rifles and energy blades, the Drakvians moved with brutal efficiency, cutting down Terran defenders who tried to hold their ground. Drakvian forces stormed through the streets, their heavy armor and relentless assault overwhelming the human defenders. Terran soldiers, though well-trained, were no match for the sheer ferocity and physical strength of the Drakvian warriors. As the battle reached its peak, Zorana led a charge towards the central command center of New Haven. Her energy blade carved through the human ranks, her warriors following her with unwavering loyalty. The command center was heavily fortified, but the Drakvians pressed on, their determination unyielding. Inside the command center, General Varen coordinated the defense. Hold them off as long as you can. We need to evacuate the civilians and secure our data, and send a SOS message, he ordered. Several soldiers answered with a yes, sir. The Drakvians breached the perimeter, and the final showdown began. Zorana confronted General Varen, their eyes locking in a moment of mutual respect and recognition of the warrior spirit. But at the same time, General Varen takes out a plasma gun and starts shooting. The same goes for the other soldiers. All the soldiers fall down, shot with the general, but not before wounding the princess. The battle for Varnus IV was brutal and costly, and the colony, now under Drakvian control, became a symbol of their might and a rallying point for their continued campaign. The Drakvians had won this battle, but the war for the galaxy was far from over. The siege of Varnus IV would be remembered as the biggest mistake the Drakvians could make, and the day an ancient monster was awakened, full of rage. From the command center, Priestess Zarana emerged, her armor battered and a deep gash running across her left side, a testament to the ferocity of the combat she had endured. Despite her injuries, her posture remained defiant and proud. Therak approached her, his expression hardening as he saw her condition. "Zarana," Therak's voice rumbled, a mix of concern and respect. "You fought with the spirit of our ancestors, but you are wounded. You should seek medical attention immediately." Zarana shook her head, wincing slightly from the pain. "The wounds will heal, High Warlord. What matters is that we secured victory for Dravik Prime." Zarana took a deep breath, her eyes meeting Therak's with a fierce determination. "I will rest when our enemies are vanquished, Therak. This species, from what I have seen, are resilient. They will regroup and retaliate. We must be ready to face them with everything we have." Multiple ships began to spread in the solar system to ensure safety and show that this is their domain. But at the same time, somewhere in the void, a red SOS button began to glow in the situation station in the Admiralty in Sector 30. Chapter 3: The Awakening. In Sector 50, a cruiser floats in the black void. This cruiser is the new model in its class. Its crew consists of only 20 members due to artificial intelligence. Most systems are operated by AI, and the decision-making power belongs to the crew. This cruiser isn't big, but it packs a punch with 80 missiles ZIM-200 SAMs that can destroy any cruiser or any battleship, 24 nano-nuclear warhead torpedoes that can destroy a small fleet, and 16 antimatter missiles each can produce a small black hole that destroys everything in their vicinity. 2 plasma cannons and 2 railguns plus large energy shield, drones, and invisibility. In short, you can fight a small war alone. The cruiser Luna was commanded by Captain Carson. Captain Alexander Carson was born on the human colony of Arcadia. At the age of 18, Alexander enrolled in the prestigious Terran Military Academy, one of the most competitive and rigorous institutions in the Terran Dominion, and he graduated at the top of his class, earning accolades for his exceptional strategic acumen and combat skills. Upon graduation, Alexander was assigned to various frontier outposts where he gained invaluable field experience. His first major command was on the frigate Ironclad, where he demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. His decisive actions during a skirmish with a rogue band of pirates earned him commendations and a promotion to captain at the young age of 28, and the right to be the captain of the cruiser Luna. At this moment, Captain Carson is sleeping in his cabin when he is awakened by a voice. "Captain Carson, Captain Carson." It was AI Benji's voice. "What is it, Benji?" asked Captain Carson. "I received an urgent message from the Admiralty. You should go quickly to the command deck." Once he arrived on the command deck, Captain Carson was met by a monitor in which an admiral was visibly irritated. "Captain Carson, we have received an urgent distress message. The Varnus IV colony is under attack by an unknown species. You are the closest ship, and your orders are for the Luna cruiser to move immediately to intercept. Once you arrive, assert the situation and try to obtain information. And if they attack me? If they attack, you have the right to retaliate. If they are strong like us, try to buy as much time as possible. I have already spoken with Battleship Cairo and Battleship Venus, and some destroyers are already en route, but they will be delayed. Now you have your orders. Go." "Yes, sir." Benji set a course for Sector 51. "Use invisibility and increase the power of the sensors to the maximum." "Yes, sir." Benji's voice is heard. "Ladies and gentlemen, May I have your attention? A few hours ago, an unknown species attacked the Varnus 4 colony in Sector 51. As the closest ship we were selected to intercept. Don't be afraid, you have trained for a day like this. So to the battle stations. We reached the range of the sensors. We detected multiple signatures. The voice of an officer can be heard. Her name was Gina. How many, Gina? 100 ships, Captain. 4 dreadnoughts, 6 battleships, 15 cruisers, 25 destroyers, 20 corvettes, and the other 20 appear to be troop transports. Benji, can you look at what technology those ships have on them? Yes. It seems that we have them in the system. They are called Drakvians, and their technology is primitive compared to ours. Seriously? In the moment when we come out from hyperspace, contact them. Yes, sir. 30 minutes later, the cruiser Luna come out from hyperspace and started contacting them. Unidentified vessels. This is the Luna cruiser of the Terran Dominion Armed Forces. You have violated our space. Identify yourselves. I am High Warlord Tharok Varnov of the Drakvians. This solar system no longer belongs to you. Now it is ours. Stop the engines and surrender. I'm sorry, but I can't do that, High Warlord Tharok Varnov. You have violated our space. I advise you to be careful before making a hasty decision. Only laughter was heard from the other side of the intercom as the intercom stopped and a barrage of torpedoes and plasma weapons began to hit the ship's shield. Cruiser Luna, cloaked in invisibility, approaches the Drakvian fleet and moves within striking range. It launches a volley of 16 antimatter missiles aimed at the heart of the Drakvian formation. The antimatter missiles strike the lead dreadnoughts, creating small black holes that tear through the fabric of spacetime. The resulting destruction causes 2 dreadnoughts and 4 battleships to be sucked into the void, creating chaos among the Drakvian ranks. Realizing the devastating capability of the Luna, the Drakvian fleet regroups. The remaining 2 dreadnoughts and 2 battleships form a protective barrier, while the cruisers and destroyers spread out to detect the invisible threat. Luna moved their position, and it starts with its plasma cannons and railguns, targeting the exposed Drakvian ships. Plasma bolts pierce through one dreadnought's hull, causing it to explode from within. Simultaneously, railgun slugs shred 2 cruisers and a battleship. Meanwhile, the Drakvian ships were firing in all directions with no result, and ship after ship were exploding. At the same time, High Warlord Tharok Varnov, Zarana, the War Priestess, and Skarneth, the Chief Tactician, began to feel something they had never felt before. Fear, like a prey being pursued by a predator. They have never seen such overwhelming power in their lives. Switching tactics, the Luna releases a swarm of support drones. These drones provide targeting data for the next wave of attacks. Luna then fires 24 nano-nuclear warhead torpedoes, aimed at the cluster of Drakvian destroyers and corvettes. The torpedoes detonate among the tightly packed ships, annihilating a significant portion of the fleet. The explosion chain reacts through the corvettes, leaving only scattered debris in its wake. On board of Luna, Captain, we have run out of heavy ammunition. What should we do? Before Captain Carson had a chance to answer, 10 dispersions in space appeared, and from the black void 2 battleships, 2 cruisers, and 4 destroyers appeared, guns blazing, turning that solar system into a concert of death, but at the same time beautiful. Those ships were the battleships Cairo and Venus, accompanied by the cruisers Thor and Loki, and the 4 bloodthirsty destroyers Revenge, the Black Knight, the Blue Wolf, and the Viking, unleashing hell on everything that moves. Didn't take long for only one ship to remain. That ship was the Drakvian flagship, Wrath of Dravukthi. They were lucky because they were behind the fleet, and taking the chance like a dying man would catch the god by the leg, they warp in space. With the end of the battle, cheers could be heard from the cruiser Luna. It was their first real battle, and they behaved perfectly. Okay, people, calm down. We have to secure the sector until we receive new orders, the captain's voice is heard. In the aftermath, the battlefield is littered with the wreckage of the Drakvian fleet, and with tens of thousands of soldiers stranded on the planet. Cruiser Luna, though strained from the immense energy output and slight damage to its cloak, stands victorious. The lone cruiser has successfully, almost alone, defeated a vastly superior fleet through superior firepower, tactical ingenuity, and advanced technology. Zeta Prime remains under the control of cruiser Luna and the rest, a testament to their unmatched capabilities in space warfare. The Terran Dominion. Beginnings. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. The once bustling colony of Varnus IV lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the ferocity of the Drakvian assault and the overwhelming power of the Terran response. Smoke billowed from the remains of shattered buildings, and the ground was littered with debris from both sides. The sky, once filled with the activity of drones and shuttles, was now eerily silent, save for the distant hum of repair crews and medical teams attending to the wounded. High above the planet, the Terran fleet maintained a vigilant orbit, ensuring no Drakvian reinforcements could threaten their newly reasserted control. The battleships Cairo and Venus, along with their supporting ships, had formed a protective perimeter around the planet, their weapon systems primed for any potential threats. On board the cruiser Luna, Captain Alexander Carson stood on the bridge of the Luna, his eyes scanning the holographic display that depicted the aftermath of the battle. His crew was busy at their stations, analyzing data and preparing reports. The atmosphere was a mix of relief and somber reflection. They had achieved a decisive victory, but the cost had been high. Benji, status report, Carson ordered, his voice steady. Shields are recharging, Captain. Hull integrity at 85%. We have minor damage to the cloaking system, but it's repairable. Benji's voice responded, calm and efficient as always. Carson nodded, turning his attention to the communications officer. Open a channel to Admiral Kraus, in the command center of the Wrath of Dravuk. On board the Drakvian flagship, the Wrath of Dravuk, the mood was starkly different. High Warlord Tharuk, Varn, Zarana, the War Priestess, and Skarneth the Chief Tactician stood in the command center, their expressions grim. The battle had been a catastrophic defeat, one that would have far-reaching consequences for their people. Tharuk's voice was a low growl as he addressed his advisors. We underestimated them, their technology, their tactics. We were outmatched. Zarana, still nursing her wounds, spoke with a fierce determination. This is not the end. We must regroup, learn from this encounter, and prepare for the next conflict. The spirit of our ancestors will guide us. Skarneth, his strategic mind already formulating plans, added, we need to reassess our approach. Direct confrontation may not be the best strategy. We must find other ways to weaken them, exploit their weaknesses. Aboard the Terran flagship, Cairo, Admiral Kraus appeared on the holoscreen, his stern face softened by a rare smile of approval. Captain Carson, excellent work. Your quick thinking and tactical prowess saved countless lives and secured our position in this sector. Thank you, Admiral, Carson replied. We were lucky to catch them off guard. However, I believe this is just the beginning. The Drakvians will not take this defeat lightly. Kraus nodded. Agreed. We will fortify our positions and prepare for their retaliation. In the meantime, we need to assist the colony and ensure the safety of our people. Your orders are to return to Sector 30 for repairs and resupply. I already sent a report to the High Council. Now, we have to wait for the new orders. Yes, sir. On the surface of Varnus IV, teams of engineers and medics moved through the rubble, helping survivors and beginning the long process of rebuilding. Among them was Lieutenant Sarah Mills, a seasoned field officer who had seen her fair share of battles. She coordinated the efforts, her voice calm and reassuring despite the chaos around her. Priority is to secure the central command center and recover any critical data, Mills instructed her team. We need to understand what they were after and ensure our defenses are reinforced. The Imperial Palace on Terra was a marvel of architectural grandeur, an epitome of human achievement and power. Its vast halls and chambers echoed with the wisdom of ages past and the ambitions of the present. In the heart of the palace lay the High Council chamber, where the most critical decisions of the Terran Dominion were made. Emperor Marcus Aurelius XXIV, known for his wisdom and just rule, sat on the elevated throne at the head of the chamber. Clad in regal robes, his presence commanded respect and reverence. Around the grand circular table sat the members of the High Council, representatives from the most influential houses of the Dominion. Among them were the 5 most powerful ducal houses: House Valerius, House Tiberius, House Corvinus, House Drusus, and House Quintus. Each house had a storied history and wielded considerable power within the empire. Marcus Aurelius the 24th spoke. Honored members of the High Council, we are gathered here to discuss the recent developments in Sector 51 and the implications for our dominion. The Drakvian incursion on Varnus IV has revealed a new threat. We must decide our course of action. Dux Valerius, leaning forward, his expression serious. Your Majesty, the Drakvian threat cannot be underestimated. Their attack on Varnus IV was audacious and brutal. We must respond with decisive force to ensure they understand the might of the Terran Dominion. Dux Corvinus, with a thoughtful look, while a show of force is necessary, we must also consider the long-term strategy. Marcus Aurelius 24 adding, your points are well taken, Dux Corvinus. Diplomacy and intelligence will play key roles. However, we must also ensure our military is prepared for any eventuality. Dux Drusus, with the stern expression, our forces are powerful. We have to reallocate our fleet's might. Dux Quintus, calm and calculating. We have the technology advantage. Captain Carson's success with the Luna cruiser demonstrates our capabilities. We should deploy more advanced ships. Marcus Aurelius the 24th, addressing the council, comprehensive strategy is indeed necessary. We will bolster our defenses and deploy more advanced ships. But first, I must address the Empire and inform them that as of today, we are at war with the Drakvians. In charge of the invasion combined fleet will be Admiral Darius, and for the ground troops General Meng will be the best choice. In the following days, the 30th Army of Space Rangers, consisting of 150,000 soldiers, was deployed in Sector 51, together with the ships in orbit, cleaned the planet of reptilians. But no one knew at that time that the speech that will resound throughout the Empire and in every house will remain in history as the signal that unleashed the beast that swallowed the entire galaxy. Chapter 5. The Calm Before the Storm. In Sector 51, ships and troops began to arrive from all parts of the Empire, from battleships and aircraft carriers to frigates and destroyers. The panorama was incredible. No one had seen a gathering like this for 300 years. Captain Carson sits on the command deck and admires the view in front of him before leaving for the command center in Sector 30. He is startled by the signal on the console. The signal came from the destroyer Venus, which was commanded by his good friend, Captain Yosef Silva. It's good to see you after such a long time, Yosef. Captain Yosef, well, if it isn't the hero of the hour, how does it feel to single-handedly scare off an entire Drakvian fleet? Captain Carson, laughing, oh, come on, Yosef, it was a team effort. Besides, I wouldn't call it single-handed. Luna did most of the heavy lifting. Captain Yosef, sitting down and pouring himself a drink, sure, but you have to admit, you did look pretty impressive up there. All those Drakvians probably thought they were facing some kind of superhuman. Captain Carson, grinning, superhuman, huh? I think they were more confused by how a single cruiser was tearing through their ships like a hot knife through butter. Captain Carson, smirking, well, next time I'll try to leave a few more for you. Maybe even one of those dreadnoughts. They seem like they'd put up a good fight. Captain Carson, clinking his cup against Yosef's glass, and to the Drakvians, for giving us something to laugh about. Here's to more victories and less paperwork. Captain Yosef, here. Captain Carson, not that I don't like seeing you, but why did the bureaucracy send you here? Captain Yosef, I was sent here to go into enemy territory to scout before the invasion. My ship is based on stealth, you know. I have to map all the solar systems and see what defenses they have. Captain Carson, boring. Captain Yosef, I have 20 nuclear mines on board. After I finish the mission, maybe I can get approval to leave some little gifts to those lizards before I leave their territory. Captain Carson, I hope so. Captain Yosef, well, I have to go. It's good to see you again, Carson. Captain Carson, same here, Yosef. Good luck and happy hunting. Carson out. With that, the two ships each left for their destinations. On board the destroyer Venus, Do we have our coordinates? Clara the AI answered. Yes, Captain, I have already entered them. Let's go then. Captain Yosef stood on the bridge of the Venus, a sleek, stealth destroyer designed to slip through enemy lines unnoticed. The mission at hand was critical: to infiltrate enemy territory, comprising 5 solar systems, and gather vital intelligence on their defensive systems, planetary layouts, and habitability. The success of future operations depended heavily on the data they would retrieve. All right, team, we're about to enter hostile space. Our primary objectives are to map the defensive systems, chart the solar system layouts, and identify habitable planets. Stealth is our key advantage here. Any questions? Lieutenant Mara: None, sir. All systems are green, and the cloak is fully operational. Captain Yosef: Excellent. Set course for the first system, Zeta Trianguli. Engage stealth drive, and keep non-essential systems powered down. Location: Zeta Trianguli system. The Venus glided silently into the Zeta Trianguli system. The crew's tension was palpable as the main viewscreen displayed the system's layout. 3 planets orbited the star, with defensive satellites and patrol ships scattered throughout. Lieutenant Mara: Captain, we have visual on the first target. There are 15 planets in this system. 7 appears to be habitable, 4 are barren rock, and 4 are gas giants. Defensive satellites are positioned near the habitable planet. Captain Yosef: Noted. Let's get closer to the habitable planets and see what we're dealing with. Mara: Bring us in slowly and keep the cloak at maximum. The Venus drifted closer to the habitable planets one by one, its sensors mapping out the defensive satellites and identifying gaps in their coverage. Ensign Lee: Captain, it looks like the habitable planets have large colonies. Population is high, and their defenses are primarily automated. Captain, 3 of the 7 planets seem to be inhabited by other species. They seem to be slaves. These cursed lizards, what can you expect from them? Soon enough, they will receive the judgment they deserve. Good work, Lee. Log all the data and move us to the next system. Location: Beta Lyrae system. The Venus entered the Beta Lyrae system, which was dominated by 2 large planets, 7 medium planets, and 1 small one, and a dense asteroid belt. Defensive turrets were installed on several asteroids, creating a formidable barrier. Lieutenant Mara: Captain, we have 2 major planets here. One is habitable and heavily fortified. The second is a frozen wasteland. As for the other 8, 5 of the medium ones seem to have heavy industry on them. The rest are just rocks. The asteroid belt is heavily armed with defensive turrets and 50 warships. This one's going to be tough. We'll need to navigate through the asteroid belt carefully. Use the asteroids for cover and avoid detection. The Venus maneuvered through the asteroid belt, its advanced sensors gathering detailed scans of the turrets and their firing arcs. They moved closer to the habitable planet, noting the presence of several military installations. Ensign Lee: Captain, this planet is a strategic military hub. They have 150 warships here, and their defenses are tight, but we've mapped out their turret placements and identified potential weak points. Captain Yosef: Excellent. Log the data and set course for the next system. Location: Gamma Orionis system. The Gamma Orionis system was vast, with 5 planets and numerous moons. Defensive satellites orbited each planet, creating a complex web of security plus 100 warships. Lieutenant Mara: Captain, we have 5 planets here. 2 are habitable, 1 is a desert world, and the remaining 2 are gas giants. Each planet has a network of defensive satellites. They seem to have a lot of shipyards here. Captain Yosef: Focus on the habitable planets. We need to know their defenses inside out. Venus moved stealthily through the system, its sensors capturing data on the satellite networks and planetary defenses. They noted the presence of a large space station orbiting one of the habitable planets. Ensign Lee: Captain, the space station seems to be a command center for their defenses. If we take this out, it could cripple their coordination. Good to know. Make sure we get every detail and then move on. Location: Delta Eridani system. Delta Eridani was a binary star system with 20 planets and a series of moons. The twin stars cast a surreal glow over the planets, 8 of which were habitable. Lieutenant Mara, Captain, this system is unique. It has 20 planets, 8 of which are habitable. Defensive satellites and patrols are concentrated around the habitable ones. Let's take a closer look at those habitable planets. We need to understand their defenses and infrastructure. The Venus crept closer, its sensors dissecting the layout of the defensive networks. They identified key military outposts, 100 warships, and noted the presence of a significant civilian population on one of the planets. Ensign Lee, Captain, this planet has a large civilian population. Their defenses are a mix of military and civilian structures. Log everything. We need a complete picture. Location, Epsilon Reticuli system. The final system, Epsilon Reticuli, had 4 planets, 3 of which were habitable. The system was heavily militarized, with warships patrolling regularly. Lieutenant Mara, Captain, we have 4 planets here, 3 habitable. The system is heavily fortified, with a large fleet present, 250 warships. This will be our most challenging system. We need to be extremely careful. The Venus navigated through the system, its stealth capabilities pushed to the limit. They gathered data on the fleet movements, planetary defenses, and identified several key military installations. Ensign Lee, Captain, this system is a major military hub. We've identified several critical targets. This system is their home system with their home planet. Good work, team. Let's finish up and get out of here. Location en route to Terran space. As the Venus slipped out of enemy territory, Captain Yosef allowed himself a moment of relief. They had successfully mapped the defensive systems, planetary layouts, and habitability of 5 enemy solar systems without being detected. Well done, everyone. We've gathered invaluable intelligence. Command will be very pleased. Lieutenant Mara says with relief, I have to admit, Captain, I was on edge the whole time. But we did it. Ensign Lee, smiling, agreed. Let's just hope Captain Carson doesn't expect us to top this mission. Captain Yosef, laughing, Carson can wait. For now, let's get this data back to command. In Sector 51, a multitude of warships are gathered, from dreadnoughts, aircraft carriers to frigates and troop carriers. On board the flagship, Invincible, a powerful and colossal dreadnought, Admiral Darius and General Meng, they were finishing up the invasion plans. General Meng, how much time do we have until we leave? Admiral Darius, not much, but we have to wait a little longer. Why? Asked General Meng. Admiral Darius spoke with a serious voice. There are still a few warships that have to come, and we received word from the higher-ups that they are sending us a surprise, something that will shock even us. General Meng, with a look of surprise on his face, Chapter 6. The invasion begins. Emperor Marcus Aurelius stood on the grand podium of the imperial palace, his figure bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. His regal armor gleamed, reflecting the aura of an indomitable leader. Before him, a vast assembly of senators, generals, and the whole empire that looked at the transmission. Citizens of the empire, loyal senators, and valiant warriors, today, we stand on the precipice of a momentous decision. The Drakvians have razed one of our city, and they invaded one of our solar systems, slain our kin, and sought to break our spirit. But hear me now, for their actions have kindled within us a fire that will not be extinguished until justice is wrought. Long have we been known for our wisdom, our philosophy, and our pursuit of peace. Yet, there are times when even the most noble of hearts must embrace the mantle of the avenger. We shall be their reckoning, the force that will undo their hubris and bring them to their knees. Let the Drakvians know that every drop of human blood spilled shall be avenged 1,000-fold. We shall march to their lands, not as mere conquerors, but as harbingers of destruction. Our soldiers will descend upon them with the fury of a tempest, and our weapons shall sing the song of retribution. Onward, to victory and vengeance. Let the Drakvians tremble, for the wrath of the empire is upon them. With those final words, the assembly's roar echoed through the halls, a resounding declaration of their resolve. somewhere in hyperspace, an armada of 120 ships that contained 4 dreadnoughts, 6 aircraft carriers, 10 battleships, 30 cruisers, 30 destroyers, 20 corvettes and 20 troop carriers were floating towards their destination, which was the Zeta Trianguli system. This armada was the 30th Fleet under the command of Admiral Darius, where at this moment they were listening to the voice of Emperor Marcus Aurelius that resounded in all the speakers in the entire fleet. His speech instilled in everyone the desire for revenge, anger, and thirst for blood. On board the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Darius sat thoughtfully in his chair. I was born into a family with a long lineage of military service. I was destined from a young age to follow in the footsteps of my ancestors, growing up on the colony world of Nova Prime. I was instilled with a strong sense of patriotism and a deep respect for the values of courage, integrity, and sacrifice. In Terran Military Academy, I have excelled in both academic studies and combat training. My natural leadership abilities quickly became apparent, earning me the admiration and respect of my peers and instructors alike. The challenges and trials, from skirmishes with rogue pirates to full-scale conflicts with them, each experience has shaped me into the seasoned tactician and fearless leader that I am today, honing my skills and fortifying my resolve in the crucible of war. But I'm a little terrified. Who would have thought that the people from above created such an abomination, a weapon that is so terrifying? Supernova is a torpedo that can destroy an entire solar system in an instant and is on board my ship. This is a surprise. I don't know if I should cry or laugh, but that doesn't matter now. Finally, the time has come to put my skills to work. With that, Admiral Darius gets up from his chair and looks at his monitor. How much time do we have until we get out of hyperspace, Lieutenant Sarah? 20 minutes, sir. We have already started to detect Drakvian ships, sir. How many ships are in the system? 250, sir. At that moment, the Admiral puts his hand on the intercom and announces, "Everyone at the battle stations, we are dealing with 250 enemy ships. Once we get out of hyperspace, get in formation and open fire. We need to clear the space for our boys to disembark. Don't spare anyone and give them hell." On the other side, Drakvian surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of his flagship, the fearsome dreadnought, Wrath of Dravuk. He didn't know when the enemy fleet would appear, but he knew that it would appear for sure, and with the will of his ancient people. Maybe he will keep them in place in the system. Suddenly, one by one, the Terran ships began to emerge from hyperspace. The vast expanse of space trembled with the thunderous roar of engines as the two opposing fleets converged upon one another, their intentions clear and their resolve unwavering. On one side, the proud vessels of the Terran Dominion, each ship a gleaming bastion of human ingenuity and strength. On the other, the formidable armada of the Drakvians, their reptilian warships bristling with deadly weapons and fierce warriors. As the distance between the two fleets closed, Admiral Darius stood upon the bridge of his flagship, the mighty dreadnought, invincible, his gaze fixed upon the approaching enemy. Beside him, General Meng barked orders to the crew, his voice echoing with authority and determination. The human fleet sprang into action, each vessel moving with practiced precision as they formed a formidable defensive line. The dreadnoughts took up positions at the center of the formation, their massive cannons primed and ready to unleash devastation upon the enemy. Flanking them were the aircraft carriers, their fighter squadrons launching into space like a swarm of deadly insects. On the Drakvian side, High Warlord Drakvian surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of his flagship, the fearsome dreadnought, Wrath of Dravuk. His scaled visage twisted into a snarl of anticipation as he beheld the approaching human fleet, his yellow eyes burning with a primal hunger for battle. "Prepare the fleet for combat. All ships, assume attack formations. We shall show these humans the true might of the Drakvian Empire," Drakvian bellowed, his voice reverberating through the corridors of the ship. The Drakvian armada surged forward, their ships weaving and darting through space like predatory beasts on the hunt. The dreadnoughts led the charge, their massive hulls bristling with weaponry. Behind them, the cruisers and destroyers formed a deadly wall of firepower, while the corvettes flanked the enemy, ready to strike from the shadows. As the two fleets clashed, a storm of energy and fire erupted across the void, illuminating the darkness of space with bursts of light and explosions. The human ships unleashed a barrage of missiles and plasma fire, while the Drakvians responded in kind with volleys of energy blasts and kinetic projectiles. In the midst of the chaos, the dreadnoughts of both sides locked horns in a brutal exchange of firepower, their massive cannons unleashing devastation upon one another. The Invincible weathered the storm, its shields holding firm against the onslaught of Drakvian fire. Meanwhile, the aircraft carriers launched wave after wave of fighters and bombers, their sleek forms streaking through space like shooting stars as they engaged the enemy ships with precision and skill. The Drakvian corvettes attempted to intercept them, but the human pilots proved too agile and elusive, dodging enemy fire with ease. As the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that the human fleet held the upper hand. The combined firepower of their dreadnoughts, battleships, and cruisers overwhelmed the Drakvian forces, decimating their ranks and scattering their ships like leaves in the wind. In a final, desperate gambit, High Warlord Tharakvarn ordered a full retreat, his voice filled with fury and frustration as he conceded defeat. The remaining Drakvian ships fled into the depths of space, leaving behind the wreckage of their fallen comrades. Of the 250 ships he had, only his ship and 2 cruises remained, and slowly but surely hope began to leave him. This time, he lost not only ships, but an entire solar system with millions of people. What will happen to his people? This question echoes in his head again and again. Putting his hands on his head, tears began to fall from his eyes. It had been decades since he had cried. Chapter 7. The Demons That Call Themselves Humans. The atmosphere of Zeta Trianguli 4 crackled with tension as the Terran Dominion's invasion force descended upon the planet's surface. From the skies above, dropships streaked through the clouds, their hulls bristling with armed soldiers, ready to claim the world from Drakvian tyranny, supported by artillery from destroyers and frigates that were in low orbit. Among the invasion force was Captain Ivan, a seasoned warrior whose name was spoken in hushed tones among both friend and foe alike. He is a seasoned veteran of the Terran Dominion, known for his exceptional leadership skills, tactical prowess, and unwavering dedication to his comrades and the cause of humanity. With a commanding presence and a steely resolve, he leads by example on the battlefield, inspiring those under his command to push past their limits and achieve victory against overwhelming odds. Despite the rigors of war, Captain Ivan remains steadfast in his commitment to uphold the values of honor, courage, and justice, earning him the respect and admiration of all who serve alongside him. He stood at the helm of his dropship, his gaze fixed upon the sprawling landscape below as he awaited the signal to deploy. Inside the dropship, the atmosphere was tense, but focused as the soldiers prepared for the imminent descent. Weapons were checked and rechecked, gear secured, and final words exchanged between comrades in arms. All units, prepare for deployment. The command crackled over the intercom, and Captain Ivan felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. With a deafening roar, the dropship's thrusters ignited, sending it hurtling towards the surface below. The ground rushed up to meet them, and Captain Ivan braced himself as the vessel touched down with a jolt, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. The moment the ramp lowered, Captain Ivan and his squad surged forth, their boots hitting the ground with purpose. They were met by a multitude of projectiles, plasma, and artillery. Around them, the landscape stretched out in all directions, a mix of rugged terrain and sprawling settlements. Captain Ivan rallied his troops with a resounding cry. With weapons raised and hearts filled with resolve, they charged forward, their boots pounding against the earth as they advanced towards the enemy positions. The battle raged on with ferocity unmatched, the air thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and the deafening roar of explosions. Captain Ivan led his troops with unwavering resolve, his voice ringing out above the din as he directed their movements with precision and skill. Their mission was clear: to establish a foothold on Zeta Trianguli 4 and destroy the Drakvian occupiers by any means necessary. As they advanced, they encountered pockets of resistance from entrenched Drakvian forces. But Captain Ivan and his soldiers were relentless. He saw how his soldiers fell. Those who were wounded fell, and got up again and go on shooting. He was part of many battles, but he never saw so much determination and anger in his comrades as today, pressing forward with unwavering determination and overwhelming firepower. Through sheer grit and tenacity, and with air support, they fought their way through enemy defenses. What he couldn't secure, he called the artillery and the air support so they would be destroyed. Death from above, death from the ground. They didn't stop. They had to, securing key strategic locations and paved the way for the larger invasion force to follow. More and more troops landed on the planet, unleashing destruction and bloodbaths, advancing more and more into the heart of the continents. The Drakvian fought bravely, trying to repel every assault, but it was in vain. Those who could no longer fight committed suicide, because it was a shame in their culture to be taken as a prisoner. And those who could fought to the last man. For a month the invasion continued. The planets began to fall one by one into the hands of the Terran Dominion. Zeta Trianguli system became in history as the graveyard of Drakvians. Among the 7 habitable planets lived 25 billion Drakvians, now almost extinct. From all these bad things, good things, it appeared, the 3 races that were in slavery, under the Drakvian whip, were now free, and that brought a new life for them. Aboard the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Darius and General Meng, they were looking at the aftermath of the battle. Admiral Darius, General Meng, we have many losses. Not only that, but we also have a humanitarian disaster on our hands with all the people we have freed. General Meng, indeed. I have already composed a report and sent it to those above. Now, we have to wait for their answer. Meanwhile, we have to ensure the defense in the system. Admiral Darius, now we have to rest, regroup and formulate a plan for the next system. General Meng, indeed. Chapter 8. Feelings. In the Zeta Trianguli 4 system among the 7 habitable planets, lies the planet called Elanath. This planet is inhabited by ancient people called Ivorians. The Ivorians, an ancient and enigmatic race, trace their origins back to the mystical forests of Eloria. They were once guardians of the planet's natural balance, living in harmony with the flora and fauna that surrounded them. For millennia, the Ivorians lived in an era known as the Age of Serenity. During this time, they developed a profound connection with nature and magic, mastering the arcane arts and becoming unparalleled healers and sages. As time progressed, the Ivorians entered an industrial age, marked by rapid technological advancement and the precipice of space exploration. The Ivorians were on the verge of launching their first interstellar vessels. Their ambition was fueled by a desire to explore the cosmos, discover new worlds, and establish peaceful relations with other races. The future seemed bright as they prepared to take their first steps beyond their home planet. However, their dreams were shattered by the arrival of the Drakvians, a ruthless and warlike species. The Drakvians, driven by their insatiable thirst for conquest, invaded Elanath with overwhelming force. Despite the Ivorians' advanced technology and magical prowess, they were ill-prepared for the sheer brutality and technological superiority of the Drakvian war machine. The Drakvians swiftly conquered Elanath, imposing their harsh rule over the Ivorian people. The once thriving cities became occupied territories, and the Ivorians were forced into servitude. Their dreams of space exploration were replaced by the harsh reality of Drakvian domination. The Ivorians were subjected to oppressive control, their resources exploited, and their culture suppressed. And now, after 200 years of subjugation, they are free, liberated by a species called humans. In the capital city of Eloria, 3 individuals were waiting for the human delegation. These were taller than humans. They possess slender, agile bodies that seem almost weightless. Their skin varies in shades of pale green to deep emerald, reflecting their connection to nature. Ivorians have striking, almond-shaped eyes that shimmer with hues of gold, silver, or violet, giving them an otherworldly appearance. Their hair, ranging from silvery white to deep forest green, often cascades down their backs like flowing waterfall. At the same time on Dravuk Prime, the capital city of Zargath in the temple of worship, Zarana, the war priestess sat in a dark room in silence. Where did it all go wrong? I was born into the ruling house of the Drakvian Empire, the House of Karzav. My childhood was filled with rigorous training, both physical and mental, as I learned the arts of war, strategy, and governance. My parents pushed me to excel in every endeavor, instilling in me a deep sense of duty and an unrelenting drive to prove myself. In the Imperial War Academy, I quickly distinguished myself as a prodigy. I mastered various forms of combat, from hand-to-hand fighting to commanding fleets in simulated space battles. My strategic acumen and combat prowess earned me the respect of my peers and instructors alike. I subjugated rebellious star systems on the fringes of the Empire, and I have led many invasions. I thought we were unstoppable. How wrong I was. Did we wake up something that shouldn't be woken up? For the first time in her life, Princess Zarana felt a mixture of emotions, fear, anxiety, anger. For the first time in her life, she felt like the prey instead of the hunter. Princess Zarana is awakened by a voice from her thoughts. We received a new report from Zeta Trianguli 4, the servant says as he hands her some papers. While reading the report, the princess's eyes grew bigger and bigger. By the god, she was screaming at the top of her lungs. In the report it was written how they lost 2 fleets and the entire solar system. Back on the planet Elanath, the central plaza of the Ivorians' capital was full of people, from children to adults and the elderly. Everyone was waiting for the liberators to appear. They had seen the soldiers patrolling until now, but today was the day when the human delegation officially come. Many thoughts float among the crowd. Happiness, anxiety, worry. After all, no one knew what tomorrow might bring. In the sky, a civilian ship was making its easy descent through the clouds, accompanied by 4 fighter planes. The ship was descending slowly until it touched the ground. The door opens and 6 individuals come out. There were 4 men and 2 women. These people represent the 5 big families plus the royal family. In the background, a team of 10 elite troops stood vigilant. These troops were led by Captain Ivan. He and his team were chosen to provide security details for the delegation of diplomats. Chapter 9. Friendship Forever. As the delegation from Earth disembarked from their ship onto the soil of Elanath, they were greeted by a delegation of Ivorians led by High Elder Thalarin, a wise and venerable figure adorned in intricate robes woven from the finest silks of the forest. "Welcome, honored guests," Thalarin spoke, his voice carrying a tone of both solemnity and hope. "We are grateful for your assistance in liberating our people from the tyranny of the Drakvians." The leader of the Earth delegation, Ambassador Samantha Aurelius, stepped forward, her expression warm yet resolute. "It is our honor to stand alongside you, High Elder Thalarin," she replied. She was the Emperor's niece, her voice projecting strength and determination. "We have come to extend the hand of friendship and to offer our support as you rebuild your society." Thalarin bowed his head in gratitude. "Your offer is most generous, Ambassador Aurelius," he said. "But before we proceed with formal negotiations, I must ask that you join us in a ritual of friendship. It is a tradition among our people to share a ceremonial meal as a symbol of trust and camaraderie." Ambassador Aurelius nodded, understanding the importance of such a gesture. "We would be honored to partake in your ritual, High Elder Thalarin," she replied. After the meal, the 2 delegations retired to the council hall to be able to start the diplomatic discussions. As Captain Ivan stood uncertain amidst the bustling council hall, his eyes fell upon a figure striding purposefully towards him. Clad in sleek Ivorian armor adorned with intricate engravings depicting the ancient symbols of their people, the woman exuded an aura of authority and strength. "Aaron," she introduced herself, her voice firm yet welcoming. "Head of security for the Elanath Council. I understand you're one of the humans who aided in our liberation." Captain Ivan nodded, a sense of relief washing over him as he found himself in the presence of a fellow warrior. "Yes, that's correct," he replied, extending his hand in greeting. "Captain Ivan, at your service." Aaron clasped his hand firmly, her gaze meeting his with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "It's an honor to meet you, Captain Ivan," she said. "Your courage in battle has not gone unnoticed by our people." Embarrassed by the praise, Captain Ivan shifted uncomfortably, unused to such attention. "I was just doing my duty." A faint blush colored Ivan's cheeks as he met her gaze, finding himself captivated by her presence. Erin's smile was genuine as she reached out to clasp his hand, her touch sending a jolt of electricity through Ivan's veins. "Your humility is as admirable as your courage," she remarked, her fingers lingering for a moment longer than necessary. Caught off guard by the intensity of the moment, Ivan found himself unable to look away from Erin's piercing gaze. In that fleeting instant, amidst the chaos of their surroundings, it felt as though they were the only two souls in the universe. As they stood there, bathed in the soft glow of the council hall, Ivan felt a connection forming between them. It felt as though time stood still, as though they were the only two souls in the universe, bound together by a shared sense of purpose and destiny. As Captain Ivan and Erin found themselves momentarily alone amidst the bustling council hall, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, and spoken words lingering between them like a silent promise. Ivan took a deep breath, gathering his courage to break the silence. "Quite a gathering we have here," he remarked, his tone casual yet laced with underlying curiosity. Erin turned to him, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips as she met his gaze. "Indeed," she replied, her voice soft yet filled with warmth. "It's not every day we welcome heroes from another world." Ivan chuckled softly, a nervous energy coursing through him as he searched for the right words. "I suppose not," he admitted, his eyes flickering with a mixture of admiration and uncertainty. "But I must admit, it's not every day I find myself standing next to someone as remarkable as you." Erin's cheeks flushed with a subtle blush, her gaze softening as she met Ivan's earnest expression. "You flatter me, Captain," she replied, a hint of playful banter in her voice. "But I assure you, the feeling is mutual." Ivan felt a surge of relief wash over him at her response, the tension easing from his shoulders as he allowed himself to relax in her presence. "I'm glad to hear that," he admitted, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "It's not often I meet someone who can match my wit and courage on the battlefield." Erin's laughter filled the space between them, a melodic sound that seemed to chase away the shadows of doubt and fear. "I'll take that as a compliment," she replied, her eyes sparkling with genuine amusement. "Though I must say, you certainly know how to hold your own out there." As they continued the conversation, time passed without one of them noticing, and the two delegates come out. The discussions continued like this for a whole week, and the two became closer and closer, but like everything, all good things come to an end. The war is not over yet, and the two still had a lot to do for their people, so they promised themselves that they would keep in touch, and maybe one day, they would meet again. Chapter 10. The Homecoming. After the intense battle at Varnus IV, Captain Alexander Carson and the crew of the cruiser Luna made their way back to Earth for much-needed repairs and resupply from Sector 30. As the Luna emerged from hyperspace near the Terran Dominion's capital planet, Earth, a hero's welcome awaited them. The news of Captain Carson's courageous leadership and the Luna's triumph had spread throughout the Dominion. Crowds gathered at the spaceport, cheering and waving banners as the Luna glided smoothly into the docking bay. The crew, exhausted but elated, could hardly believe the outpouring of support. Stepping off the ramp, Captain Carson was met by a line of high-ranking military officials, including Admiral Kraus and Commander Ramirez. They saluted him with respect and admiration, acknowledging his exceptional command during the battle. Amidst the flurry of camera flashes and cheering crowds, Admiral Kraus stepped forward, his voice booming over the cheers. "Captain Alexander Carson, for your exemplary leadership, unwavering courage, and tactical brilliance displayed in the defense of Varnus IV, it is my honor to promote you to the rank of Rear Admiral in the Terran Dominion fleet." A hush fell over the crowd as the promotion ceremony began. Admiral Kraus pinned the new insignia on Carson's uniform, signifying his new rank. A proud smile crossed Carson's face as he saluted his superiors and the gathered crowd, feeling a mix of humility and pride at the honor bestowed upon him. The ceremony continued with speeches praising Captain Carson's achievements and the valor of the crew of the Luna. Medals of honor were awarded, and the crew members were applauded for their bravery and dedication in the face of overwhelming odds. Following the ceremony, grand banquet was held in honor of Captain Carson and the crew of the Luna. Admirals, officers, and dignitaries mingled with the crew, sharing tales of valor and camaraderie. Laughter and music filled the air as toasts were raised to the heroes of Varnus 4. Amidst the festivities, Admiral Krause approached Captain Carson with a solemn expression. "Rear Admiral Carson, I have one final announcement to make. In recognition of your exceptional leadership and strategic prowess, you have been granted the right to command the formidable battleship Montana, one of the finest vessels in our fleet." Carson's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude at the honor bestowed upon him. The battleship Montana was a symbol of power and authority, entrusted only to the most skilled and respected commanders in the Dominion. He knew that with this new command came great responsibility, but he was ready to face the challenges ahead with determination and resolve. As the celebration continued late into the night, Captain Carson reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. A photo comes to his mind with his wife and his 5-year-old son. The last time he spoke to them was before he left Sector 30. "Oh, Laura," he sighed. "I miss you both so much already. I thought it would get easier each time I shipped out, but it never does. Leaving you and Jack, it's the hardest thing I ever have to do." He leaned back, lost in thought. "I still remember the day Jack was born, holding him in my arms for the first time. He was so tiny, so perfect. I promised him I'd always keep him safe. And now, he's already 5 years old, growing up so fast." Carson smiled wistfully, remembering a recent vid call. "He looks so proud, showing me the spaceship model he built. 'I made it just like your ship, Daddy,' he told me." Could hardly keep from crying, seeing how much he looks up to me. "He's the spitting image of me at that age," Laura always says, with the same twinkle in his eye. His expression turned somber. "I know my deployments are hard on you, having to raise Jack mostly on your own. I worry that he'll resent me for being gone so much as he gets older. I don't ever want him to doubt how much I love him, how much I wish I could be there every day to watch him grow up." Carson squared his shoulders. "But I have a duty to make the galaxy a little safer for our family. One day, when he's old enough, I hope Jack understands that he knows his dad is out here fighting for a better future for him." From the far reaches of space to the heart of the Terran Dominion, he had risen through the ranks, faced formidable enemies, and emerged victorious. With the trust of his superiors, the loyalty of his crew, and the spirit of adventure burning in his heart, Rear Admiral Alexander Carson was ready to set sail once more, on a new chapter of exploration, discovery, and heroism aboard the battleship Montana. On the morning of the second day, Rear Admiral Carson goes to the command deck of Luna for the last time. Looking around at the ship that was his home for 7 years, he called a meeting for all crew members. 5 minutes later, all team members were assembled. He turned to address his crew of 20 men and women. "As you all know, I'll be transferring command of the Luna today to take over the battleship Montana." Lieutenant Jenna Adams, his first officer, stepped forward. "The honor has been ours, sir. The Luna won't be the same without you, but the Montana is lucky to have you." "Thank you, Lieutenant. I have full faith in your ability to command the Luna going forward." He paused, emotion tinging his voice. "I'll miss this ship and crew tremendously. We've been through a lot together." Ensign David Zhu piped up from the helm. "Remember when we got caught in that Eon storm in the Antares sector, Captain? I thought we were goners for sure, but you got us through it." Captain Carson chuckled. "I seem to recall you pulling off some fancy flying that day too, Ensign." "It was a team effort, like always," Chief Engineer Miles O'Brien called out from the back. "Don't forget about the time we had to MacGyver those engine repairs with scrap metal and duct tape to get the Luna moving again." Laughter rippled through the bridge. They spent the next few minutes swapping favorite memories. Finally, Captain Carson raised a hand. "All right, that's enough reminiscing. The Montana is waiting for me." He looked around the bridge, making eye contact with each crew member. "I have been privileged to serve with the best crew in the galaxy. I know you'll continue to make me proud." Godspeed, Luna. As one, the bridge crew rose and saluted. Godspeed, Captain, Lieutenant Adams said. The Montana is gaining one hell of a leader. With a final nod, Captain Carson turned and strode off the bridge, ready to take on his next command. Chapter 11. The Ashes of Defeat. The remains of the Drakvian fleet limped back into the vast, ancient spaceport orbiting Dravak Prime. The once proud vessels, now scarred and battered, docked in the eerie silence that pervaded the shipyard. High Warlord Therak Varn's flagship, the Wrath of Dravak, entered its berth last, its hulking form listing slightly from the damage sustained in the battle. Therak Varn stood on the bridge, his scaled hands clenched around the railing as he surveyed the ruins of his fleet. He had failed, and the weight of that failure crushed down on him. As the docking procedures completed, he turned and made his way to the War Council chamber, dreading the meeting that awaited him. The elders, ancient and wise, sat in a semicircle around the holographic war table. Their faces, etched with the wisdom and scars of countless battles, were unreadable. As Therak entered, he could feel their eyes on him, judging, calculating. Elder Varuk, the oldest and most revered among them, spoke first. High Warlord Therak Varn, we have received your report. The loss at Zeta Trianguli is a grave setback. Therak nodded, his voice heavy with regret. Yes, Elder Varuk. The humans, they were prepared, and their weaponry was beyond anything we anticipated. We were outmaneuvered and outgunned. Elder Zara, known for her strategic brilliance, leaned forward. Tell us about the enemy's capabilities. How did they manage to defeat our fleet so decisively? Therak's gaze dropped. Their tactics were relentless, and their firepower overwhelming. They coordinated their attacks with precision and used their aircraft carriers to maintain constant pressure on our flanks. We couldn't break their formation. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation settling over them like a shroud. Elder Varuk broke the silence. We cannot continue this war if they possess such destructive power. We must seek another path. Therak felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly extinguished by the crushing guilt of his failure. What path, Elder Varuk? The humans will not rest until we are annihilated. Before the elder could respond, the chamber doors opened, and Zarada, Therak's trusted lieutenant and closest confidant, entered. She approached Therak, her eyes filled with concern. High Warlord, may I speak with you? Therak nodded and followed her out of the chamber. They walked in silence until they reached a secluded alcove overlooking the bustling shipyard below. Zarada turned to him, her expression earnest. Therak, I have been thinking. We need to consider peace with the humans. Therak recoiled as if struck. Peace? After what they have done? After the lives lost at Zeta Trianguli? Zarada placed a gentle hand on his arm. Yes, peace. We cannot afford to lose any more of our people. The elders are right. The humans' power changes everything. We need to preserve what we have left. Therak's shoulders sagged, the weight of the past days crushing him. I have led our people into disaster. How can I now ask for peace? Zarada's eyes softened with empathy. You have led with courage and honor, Therak. But even the greatest warriors must know when to seek another way. The humans are not monsters. They might be willing to negotiate, especially now that they have shown their strength. Therak turned away, staring out into the void. How can I face them after all the bloodshed? Zarada moved closer, her voice a whisper. You can face them because it is the only way to save our people. Let us send a delegation. Let us try to find common ground. We owe it to our ancestors, to our children, to find another way. Therak felt a tear slide down his scaled cheek. He had not cried in decades, but now, the floodgates had opened. I don't know if I can do this, Zarada. The weight of my failures. It's too much. Zarada embraced him, her touch a lifeline in the storm of his emotions. You are not alone, Therak. We will face this together. For our people, for our future. The two stood there, united in their shared pain and hope. As the vastness of space stretched out before them, the possibility of peace flickered like a distant star. It was fragile, uncertain, but it was there. And in that moment, Therak Varn, High Warlord of the Drakvians, found the strength to take the first step towards a new path. one that might lead his people out of the darkness and into a future where they could thrive once more. In the dimly lit chamber beneath the ancient citadel of Dravuk Prime, Elder Goru and Elder Varric convened in secrecy. The room, adorned with symbols of their ancient heritage, seemed to hum with the weight of their discussion. The shadows cast by the flickering torches danced on the walls, reflecting the tension in the air. Elder Goru, a seasoned warrior with scales marked by countless battles, broke the silence. Varric, the situation grows dire. Our fleet is decimated, and our people's morale is at an all-time low. We need allies, and we need them now. Elder Varric, his eyes sharp and calculating, nodded slowly. I agree, Goru. The humans have proven to be formidable opponents. We cannot face them alone. Goru leaned in, his voice a whisper. There is one possibility we have yet to explore. The Korans. Varric's eyes widened slightly, a mix of intrigue and caution in his expression. The Korans. Insectoid beings with the hive mentality and unparalleled adaptability. They could be the key to turning the tide, but contacting them is fraught with risks. Goru's gaze hardened. Risky, yes, but necessary. You were our liaison with the Korans in the past. You know their ways better than anyone. Can we convince them to aid us? Varric sighed, the weight of his past interactions with the Korans heavy on his shoulders. The Korans respect strength and cunning. They are not easily swayed by mere words. We must offer them something of value, something that aligns with their interests. Goru's eyes glinted with determination. What do they value, Varric? What can we offer them that would compel them to join our cause? Varric pondered for a moment, his mind racing through his previous dealings with the Korans. The Korans seek resources to expand their hive and ensure the survival of their species. They value territory rich in minerals and organic materials. We have several uninhabited systems that could serve their needs. Goru nodded thoughtfully. If we promise them these systems, will they come to our aid? Can we trust them to keep their end of the bargain? Varric's expression grew stern. The Korans are not known for their loyalty. They operate on pure pragmatism. If we can convince them that aiding us will benefit them more than betraying us, they will stand by us. But we must be prepared for the possibility that they might turn on us if a better offer comes along. Goru leaned back, his mind weighing the options. It's a gamble, but one we might have to take. We cannot afford to lose this war. The future of our people depends on it. Varric placed a reassuring hand on Goru's shoulder. I will reach out to them. I will use my connections and diplomatic skills to persuade them. But we must be prepared for any outcome. Goru met Varric's gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. Do what you must, Varric. Our people are counting on you. As Varric left the chamber, the flickering torchlight cast long shadows on the walls, symbolizing the uncertain path ahead. The fate of the Drakvians now hinged on a delicate negotiation with a potentially treacherous ally. In the depths of space, alliances and betrayals could mean the difference between survival and extinction. The Terran Dominion. Beginnings. Chapter 12. The Silent Intruder. Captain Yosef stood on the bridge of the Venus, his undetectable destroyer, gazing out at the distant stars. The sleek, black hull of his ship was designed to blend seamlessly with the darkness of space, rendering it virtually invisible to sensors. Venus was a marvel of Terran engineering, equipped with advanced stealth technology that allowed it to slip past enemy defenses undetected. Yosef's patrol in the Zeta Trianguli system had been uneventful thus far, but he knew that could change at any moment. The command panel beeped, signaling an incoming transmission. He activated it, and the stern face of Admiral Darius appeared on the screen. Captain Yosef, Darius began, I have a new mission for you, one that requires your unique skills and the capabilities of Venus. Yosef straightened, his eyes narrowing with interest. What is the mission, Admiral? Darius leaned forward, his expression intense. We need you to infiltrate Dravuk Prime and plant surveillance drones. The information we gather will be crucial for our strategic planning. Your destroyer is the only ship capable of slipping through their defenses undetected. Yosef nodded, a sense of determination settling over him. Understood, Admiral. When do we depart? Immediately, Darius replied. Time is of the essence. The drones have been prepped and are ready for deployment. Good luck, Captain. The success of this mission could turn the tide of the war. The transmission ended, and Yosef turned to his crew. Prepare for hyperspace jump to Dravik Prime. We have a mission to complete. The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew worked to ready the ship for the jump. Within minutes, Venus slipped into hyperspace, the stars stretching into lines of light as the ship hurtled towards its destination. As they neared Dravik Prime, Yosef reviewed the mission parameters with his second-in-command, Lieutenant Mara. Our primary objective is to deploy these drones in key locations around the Drakvian capital. They will transmit real-time data back to our intelligence network. Mara nodded. What about their planetary defenses? Yosef smirked. Venus is designed to avoid detection. We'll rely on our cloaking technology to get us in and out without being noticed. Once the drones are deployed, we'll slip away before they even know we were there. The ship dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the Dravik Prime system. The crew worked in hushed efficiency, every movement precise and calculated. Yosef navigated the ship through the outer defenses, the cloaking systems, humming as they masked the Venus presence. As they approached the planet, Yosef's eyes were fixed on the sensors. Activate the stealth thrusters. Let's take it slow and steady. The ship glided towards the planet, its advanced sensors scanning for the optimal locations to deploy the drones. Yosef directed the ship to a low orbit, hidden from the Drakvian sensors by the planet's magnetic field. Deploy the drones, Yosef ordered. The crew activated the launch mechanisms, and the small, sleek drones shot out from the Venus, descending towards the planet's surface. Each drone was equipped with advanced camouflage technology, making them virtually invisible to the naked eye and to most sensor arrays. Yosef monitored their progress on the holographic display. Drones are in position. Initiating data link. The drones landed in their designated spots, their sensors coming online and transmitting data back to the Venus. Yosef watched as streams of information began to flow in, detailing troop movements, defensive positions, and key infrastructure points. Mission accomplished, Yosef said, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Now, let's get out of here before they realize what's happening. Venus retraced its path, slipping away from Dravik Prime as silently as it had arrived. The crew worked with disciplined precision, their actions a testament to their training and Yosef's leadership. As they entered hyperspace, Yosef allowed himself a moment of relief. The mission had been a success, and the information they had gathered would prove invaluable in the coming battles. Venus and its crew had once again proven their worth, executing a delicate operation with skill and finesse. Yosef stood on the bridge, gazing out at the swirling patterns of hyperspace. The war was far from over, but with every successful mission, they inched closer to victory. And as long as he commanded Venus, Yosef would continue to be a thorn in the side of their enemies, striking from the shadows and leaving no trace behind. At the same time, in the vast reaches of space, a Terran squadron made its way towards the Zeta Trianguli system, led by Rear Admiral Carson aboard the battleship Montana. The squadron, composed of 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, and 2 frigates, moved with the precision and discipline characteristic of Terran military might. It had already been 2 days since they left Earth, and he still hadn't gotten used to the rank of Rear Admiral. Rear Admiral Carson stood on the bridge of the Montana, his gaze fixed on the holographic star map displaying their route. He was a seasoned officer, known for his strategic acumen and unyielding resolve. The mission at hand was crucial, and he was determined to see it through. Status report, Carson commanded, his voice steady and authoritative. Commander Harris, his second-in-command, stepped forward. All ships report ready, sir. We are maintaining formation and on schedule to reach Zeta Trianguli in 12 hours. The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew executed their tasks with practiced efficiency. The Montana was a formidable vessel, its massive guns and thick armor making it a floating fortress in space. Flanking it were the battleship Lexington, the cruisers Aurora, Odyssey, and Vanguard, the destroyers Tempest, Vortex, and Striker, and the frigates Comet and Meteor. Together, they formed a formidable force capable of taking on any threat. As they approached the edge of the Zeta Trianguli system, Carson called a meeting with his senior officers. They gathered in the war room, a large chamber dominated by a holographic display of the system. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission is to be one of the vanguard in the coming battles, and I want you to be prepared. Now that we have entered the Zeta system, anything can happen. So keep your eyes open and your ships ready. All the officers in one voice said yes, sir. Chapter 13. Into the fray. In Zeta Trianguli 4 on the transport ship Namikaze, Captain Ivan was looking at a console that displayed the map of Beta Lyrae system. This system was the next to be invaded. His attention snapped to the holographic display as Admiral Darius's voice echoed through the bridge of the Namikaze. Captain Ivan, come to the Invincible, we have a new mission for you. With a quick salute to his crew, he acknowledged the order before replying, understood, Admiral? On my way to the Invincible. As the communication link closed, Ivan turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sophia. Prepare for immediate departure. Set a course for the Invincible. Sophia nodded, her expression reflecting the urgency of the situation. Aye, Captain. Setting course now. The Namikaze hummed to life as the engines roared to full power, propelling the ship towards its rendezvous with the Invincible. Ivan's mind raced with anticipation and determination. Whatever new mission awaited him, he was ready to face it head-on. Upon arrival at the Invincible, Ivan wasted no time in making his way to the bridge of the flagship. As he entered, he was greeted by the imposing figure of Admiral Darius, flanked by a retinue of officers, and Captain Yosef. In front of them was a large holographic displays showcasing the Beta Lyrae system. Captain Ivan, Darius greeted, his voice resonating with authority. I trust you're ready for your next assignment. Ivan stood at attention, his gaze unwavering. Always ready, Admiral. Darius nodded approvingly before gesturing to the holographic display. Beta Lyrae system is our next target. Intelligence reports indicate heavy Drakvian presence in the region. Your mission is to lead a strike force to disable their defensive installations and pave the way for the main fleet. Ivan's jaw tightened with determination. Your ride there will be Captain Yosef and the destroyer Venus. Here are all the intelligence reports we received, says Admiral Darius in a solemn voice, handing a tablet to him. Looking at the tablet, Captain Ivan saw the layout of the system, the number of defending satellites, the number of ships, the blind ports of the system. He could see everything. I trust that you will fulfill the mission. You have 2 days at your disposal to formulate a plan. You and Captain Yosef should discuss the mission and come up with a strategy, says Admiral Darius, laughing. Consider it done, Admiral. We'll clear the way for the fleet. With a firm nod from Darius, Ivan turned on his heel and strode out of the bridge, followed by Captain Yusuf, his mind already racing with plans and strategies. Captain Ivan and Captain Yosef found themselves in one of the corridors of the Invincible, the hum of the ship's engines a constant background noise. My name is Ivan, he says while extending his hand in front of Yosef. Nice to meet you. The pleasure is mine, says Yosef, smiling while taking his hand. Your fame precedes you. So, Captain Yosef, Ivan began, leaning against a wall with a casual air. Looks like we've got ourselves quite the mission ahead of us. Yosef nodded, his expression serious. Indeed, Captain Ivan. Beta Lyrae system won't be an easy nut to crack, especially with those Drakvian defenses. Ivan glanced down at the tablet in his hand, studying the data once more. Seems like they've fortified every inch of that system. But you know what they say, the tougher the challenge, the sweeter the victory. Yosef cracked a grin, his eyes lighting up with a hint of excitement. Couldn't agree more, Captain. And with the two of us leading the charge, those Drakvians won't know what hit them. Ivan chuckled, a sense of camaraderie forming between them. That's the spirit, Yosef. Together, we'll make quick work of those defenses and pave the way for the main fleet. Let's go. We'll have to come up with something, says Ivan. I have no doubt that we will do it, says Yosef. 2 days had passed in a blur of planning, strategizing, and briefings. Now, as the Venus approached the outskirts of the Beta Lyrae system, Captain Ivan and Captain Yosef stood side by side on the bridge, their gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of hyperspace ahead. Here we go, Ivan murmured, his voice tinged with anticipation. Yosef nodded, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the display. Time to see if all our planning pays off. As the Venus slipped through the void of space, its cloaking systems shimmering with energy, Yosef couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation. The mission ahead would test their skills again, but he was confident in his crew's abilities. Their destination loomed in the distance, a cluster of planets and moons guarded by a network of Drakvian defense satellites. Ivan and Yosef exchanged a silent nod, their resolve unwavering as they prepared to engage the enemy. With that, the two captains sprang into action, coordinating their forces with precision and skill. The destroyer Venus darted through the void, its stealth systems cloaking it from enemy detection as it closed in on the first target. Captain, Lieutenant Mara spoke up, her voice tinged with urgency. Enemy sensor activity detected on the outer fringes of the system. They're scanning for intruders. Yosef's jaw tightened with determination. Maintain course, but keep us at a safe distance. We don't want to risk detection until we're ready to strike. The tension aboard the Venus mounted as they skirted the edge of enemy territory, their stealth systems working overtime to evade detection. Every second felt like an eternity as they inched closer to their objective, the fate of the entire mission hanging in the balance. And then, as the Beta Lyrae system loomed large on the holographic display, Yosef gave the order they had been waiting for. "Prepare to engage," he said, his voice steady with resolve. "It's time to show the Drakvians what we're made of." With a chorus of acknowledgments, the crew of the Venus sprang into action, their training and expertise guiding them as they prepared to execute their daring mission. As they plunged deeper into enemy territory, the true test of their mettle awaited, their fate bound to the stars that lay ahead. Meanwhile, Captain Ivan made his way to the hangar where his men were ready to be deployed. Chapter 14. The Shadows of the Night. The Venus glided silently through the void, its cloaking systems rendering it nearly invisible to the Drakvian sensors. Captain Ivan stood beside Captain Yosef on the bridge. Both men focused intently on the holographic display showing their approach to Beta Lyrae 3, a key planet in the Beta Lyrae system. "Captain Ivan," Yosef said, breaking the silence, "we've reached the drop point. Your strike team is ready for deployment." Ivan nodded, his expression resolute. "Understood, Captain Yosef. Thank you for getting us this far. We'll take it from here." Yosef extended his hand, and Ivan shook it firmly. "Good luck down there, Ivan. We'll be ready to provide support if you need it." With a final nod, Ivan turned and made his way to the deployment bay, where his strike team was assembled. Clad in their advanced combat armor, each member of the team checked their weapons and gear one last time. The atmosphere was tense, but there was also a palpable sense of determination. "All right, team," Ivan addressed them, his voice steady and authoritative. "We're about to make our descent onto Beta Lyrae 3. Our mission is to disable the planetary defense grid and secure a foothold for our forces. Stay sharp, stick to your training, and we'll get through this." The team responded with a chorus of affirmations. Ivan stepped into the drop pod, the rest of the team following suit. The hatch sealed with a hiss, and the pod detached from the Venus, plummeting towards the planet below. While the small ship made its descent through the atmosphere, it shook very violently. "Okay guys, just like last time, stay in formation and follow the plan, and we'll all get home safe and sound," Captain Ivan says while doing his equipment check. The descent was swift and jarring, the pod shaking violently as it entered the planet's atmosphere. "Brace for impact," Ivan shouted over the comms, gripping the handles inside the pod. The team members followed suit, their faces set in grim determination. The pod crashed into the surface with a bone-rattling jolt. The hatch blew open, and Ivan led his team out into the harsh terrain of Beta Lyrae 3. The sky above was dark, filled with ominous clouds, and the landscape was a mix of jagged rocks and sparse vegetation. In the distance, the glow of the Drakvian defense installations could be seen. "Move out," Ivan ordered, motioning for his team to follow. They advanced quickly, using the rugged terrain for cover. Their target was a heavily fortified bunker housing the main control center for the planetary defense grid. As they approached the bunker, they encountered their first resistance, a patrol of Drakvian soldiers. Ivan signaled for his team to take up positions, and they engaged the enemy with precision and efficiency. The Drakvians were caught off guard, and within moments, the patrol was neutralized. "Good work," Ivan said, leading his team towards the bunker. "Stay alert. We're not done yet." They reached the bunker entrance, a massive, reinforced door. Ivan placed a breaching charge on the door, and the team took cover as it exploded inward. They stormed the bunker, encountering fierce resistance from the Drakvian soldiers inside. The confined space made for brutal close-quarters combat, but Ivan and his team fought with relentless determination. "Target the control room," Ivan shouted over the din of battle. "We need to disable those defenses." Pushing forward, they fought their way through the bunker, finally reaching the control room. "Johnny, do your thing," says Captain Ivan in a serious voice. Johnny Crow was their software expert. He was specially chosen for this mission. His job was to upload a virus into their network to disrupt their defensive satellites before they destroyed the control room. While Johnny was doing his job, the others were looking for intelligence that could help them in the future. While Ivan was looking at some maps he found, he heard a voice. "I'm ready. These bastards won't be able to do anything with those satellites," Johnny says, laughing. "Okay, guys. We're ready here." Ivan's voice rang through their intercom. Ivan's demolitions expert cammed forward and set the charges on the control console, while the rest of the team maintained their defensive positions. The charges detonated, sending sparks and debris flying as the control systems were destroyed. "Defense grid is down," the demolitions expert confirmed. "Good," Ivan replied. "Now, let's get out of here before reinforcements arrive." As Captain Ivan and his team battled on the surface of Beta Lyrae 3, the destroyer Venus was hard at work in orbit. Captain Yosef stood on the bridge, overseeing the delicate operation of laying mines throughout the Beta Lyrae system. "Deploy the first set of mines near the jump points," Yosef ordered, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the system. "We need to ensure any incoming Drakvian reinforcements." The crew of the Venus worked swiftly and efficiently. Automated drones were dispatched from the destroyer's bays, each carrying a deadly payload of proximity mines. These mines were designed to detect and target enemy ships, unleashing devastating explosions upon contact. As the drones spread out across the system, Yosef monitored their progress closely. "Set the mines to stealth mode," he instructed. "We don't want the Drakvians detecting them until it's too late, Captain." The tactical officer responded, inputting the necessary commands. The drones activated their cloaking devices, rendering the mines invisible to enemy sensors. "Captain, we've received word from the ground team," the communications officer reported. "Captain Ivan and his team have disabled the planetary defense grid." Yosef allowed himself a brief smile of satisfaction. "Excellent. That should make our job a bit easier. Continue with the mine deployment. We need to cover all strategic points in the system." The Venus moved gracefully through the void, its drones spreading out in a carefully orchestrated pattern. Mines were placed near asteroid belts, planetary orbits, and key navigational routes. The goal was to create a deadly web that would ensnare any Drakvian ships attempting to reinforce their positions or launch a counterattack. As the last of the mines were deployed, Yosef turned his attention to the tactical display. "How are we looking?" "All mines are in position and operational, Captain," the tactical officer replied. "Stealth mode is active, and they're primed to detonate upon detecting Drakvian vessels." "Good," Yosef said, nodding. "Now we wait. Inform Captain Ivan that our trap is set. Any Drakvians entering the system will be in for a nasty surprise." Back in the bunker, Venus has completed the mine deployment, Ivan informed his team. "We're not out of the woods yet, but this will give us a significant advantage. Let's hope the Drakvians take the bait," one of his soldiers remarked, checking his weapon. "I'd love to see their faces when they hit those mines." Ivan chuckled, the tension of battle momentarily giving way to camaraderie. "Indeed. But for now, we focus on securing our position here. Reinforcements will be arriving soon, and we need to be ready." The team made their way back to the surface, emerging from the bunker just as a Drakvian dropship arrived, disgorging fresh troops. Ivan ordered his team to hold their ground, using the terrain to their advantage. They engaged the enemy with everything they had, buying time for their extraction. Venus, this is Ivan, he called over the comms. We need immediate extraction, sending coordinates now. Copy that, Ivan, Yosef's voice came through. Extraction team en route. Hold tight. As the battle raged on, the roar of engines signaled the arrival of the extraction dropship. Ivan and his team fought their way towards it, fending off waves of Drakvian soldiers. With the final push, they reached the dropship, piling in as it lifted off. Sparks were flying everywhere from the projectiles hitting that little ship as it made its ascent through the atmosphere. Inside, Captain Ivan and his crew held tight and laughed. Mission accomplished, Ivan said, panting heavily. Beta Lyrae 3 is ours. The small craft made its way to the destroyer Venus and attached itself. With a sense of relief, Captain Ivan exits and goes to the command deck. Chapter 15. The Unseen Frontline. Captain Ivan had barely reached the command deck when the ship began to shake. The sudden jolt sent him grabbing for a nearby rail to steady himself. Looking at the monitor, he saw explosion after explosion ripping through the darkness of space. The Drakvian ships were hitting the mines placed by the Venus, a spectacular display of destruction lighting up the void. These ships were the reinforcements that had unfortunately fallen into their trap. Captain Yosef stood at the helm, his face a mask of concentration. Seeing Ivan enter, he quickly motioned him over. Ivan, looks like we've sprung the trap just in time. Ivan nodded, eyes fixed on the chaotic display on the screen. It's working better than we could have hoped. How many ships have been hit? At least a dozen so far, Yosef replied, his voice steady despite the shaking. And more are coming into range. The mines are doing their job. Ivan's expression hardened. We've got to finish this quickly then. Yosef nodded, his expression determined. Agreed. We'll clean up the rest and we will live. As the last of the Drakvian ships were dispatched, the Venus entered hyperspace, bound for Zeta Trianguli. 4. Ivan and Yosef exchanged a look of mutual respect and determination, knowing that while this battle was won, the war was far from over. Meanwhile, from the home planet of the Drakvians, a diplomatic ship was making its way to hyperspace. Their destination was the Hyan system. This solar system was the home system of the Korans. As the diplomatic ship traversed the vast expanse of hyperspace, Varuk and Goru, two high-ranking officials of the Drakvian Empire, found themselves in a private chamber on board. The hum of the ship's engines provided a backdrop to their conversation as they discussed the delicate mission ahead. Varuk, a seasoned diplomat with the reputation for shrewd negotiation, leaned forward, his gaze fixed on Goru. This mission to the Hyan system is crucial, Goru. The Korans hold significant sway in the region, and we need their support if we want to have any chance to win against the humans. Goru, a military strategist known for his unwavering loyalty to the Empire, nodded in agreement. Indeed, Varuk, the Korans may prove to be valuable allies in our ongoing conflicts with the Terranians and other neighboring factions, but we must tread carefully. They are a proud and independent race, and they will not take kindly to any attempts at coercion. Varuk stroked his chin thoughtfully, considering Goru's words. You're right, of course. We must approach them with respect and humility, offering them incentives that align with their own interests, technological advancements, and perhaps even access to our military resources. Goru nodded in approval. Agreed. And we must also be prepared for any potential obstacles. The Hyan system is known for its treacherous asteroid fields and unpredictable gravitational anomalies. Our navigational systems will need to be calibrated accordingly. Goru clasped Varuk's forearm in a gesture of solidarity. Together, we will ensure that we will be successful. With their plans laid out and their resolve firm, Varuk and Goru turned their attention back to the task at hand, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the Hyan system. 2 days later in the Zorgan system, the diplomatic ship made its descent through the atmosphere of the planet Zor. The ship was descending slowly until it touched the ground. The door opens and 10 individuals come out. There were 6 males and 4 females. Waiting for them were 4 individuals, Diwar featuring large compound eyes that provide them with keen vision across a broad spectrum of light. Antennae protrude from their heads, twitching and swaying as they sense the subtlest changes in their environment. Their mouths are equipped with mandibles capable of crushing even the toughest of materials, used both for feeding and communication through complex pheromone signals. These individuals were Ambassador Zamer, flanked by 3 guards. The Korans are a species of insectoid beings known for their remarkable hive mentality and rapid adaptability. Standing tall on 6 segmented legs, their exoskeletons gleam with an iridescent sheen, reflecting the colors of the spectrum in mesmerizing patterns. Their bodies are elongated, with multiple pairs of jointed limbs that allow for swift and agile movement. The Korans' hive mentality is central to their society, with each individual playing a specialized role within the collective. From workers and warriors to engineers and diplomats, every Koran contributes to the greater good of the hive. This collective consciousness allows them to communicate and coordinate seamlessly, making them formidable allies or adversaries depending on the circumstances. Varrock steps forward and speaks in a friendly voice. "Greetings, honored representatives of the Korans," Varrock said, his voice echo. "I am Varrock, ambassador of the Drakvian Empire. It is an honor to meet you." The Koran delegation came closer, their insectoid forms moving with a graceful fluidity. At the forefront was Zamer, their appointed leader, his antennae twitching with curiosity as he surveyed his surroundings. "Greetings, Ambassador Varrock," Zamer replied, his voice buzzing with a faint hum. "We appreciate that you came all the way here. We extend our sincerest gratitude for this opportunity to engage in diplomatic discourse." Varrock nodded respectfully. "The pleasure is ours, Zamer. We have much to discuss, and I believe our 2 species have the potential for a mutually beneficial relationship." Zamer inclined his head in agreement. "Indeed, Ambassador Varrock." Arak smiled, impressed by Zamer's diplomatic demeanor. "I believe we share similar goals, Guru. The Drakvian Empire values strength and unity, but we also recognize the importance of diplomacy and collaboration in achieving our objectives." "Agreed, Ambassador Varrock," Zamer replied. "The Korans possess a wealth of knowledge and resources that we are eager to share with our allies. Likewise, we are keen to learn from the wisdom and expertise of the Drakvian Empire. Please follow me," says Zamer while pointing with his hand towards the entrance of the palace. With that, the 2 delegations entered inside. In the meantime, the bustling spaceport in the Zeta Trianguli system was a hive of activity. Ships of various classes and sizes were being prepped for launch, their hulls gleaming under the artificial lights. The air was filled with the hum of engines, the clanking of machinery, and the voices of countless personnel as they worked tirelessly to prepare the fleet for the upcoming invasion of the Beta Lyrae system. Rear Admiral Carson stood on the bridge of the battleship Montana, his gaze fixed on the vast expanse of space beyond the viewports. Beside him, General Meng and Admiral Darius discussed the final details of the mission, their expressions serious and focused. "All ships report ready, Captain," his second-in-command said, glancing at the tactical display. "We're just waiting for the final go-ahead from Admiral Darius." Admiral Darius stepped forward, his presence commanding respect. "Gentlemen, the time has come. Our scouts have confirmed that the Drakvian reinforcements are still mobilizing. We need to strike now while we have the element of surprise. Remember," Darius continued, his voice firm, "our primary objective is to secure the Beta Lyrae system. Disable their defenses, take control of the strategic points." As the Admiral left the bridge to address the fleet, Rear Admiral Carson sat on the command chair waiting for the signal. A voice came over the intercom, announcing the Admiral's speech to the entire fleet. "Attention, all ships. This is Admiral Darius. Today, we embark on a mission of critical importance. The Beta Lyrae system is a key stronghold for the Drakvians, and its capture will deal a significant blow to their war efforts. Our victory here will pave the way for future successes. Stay sharp, stay focused, and fight with honor. May the stars guide us to victory." The bridge crew erupted in cheers, their spirits bolstered by the Admiral's words. Carson felt a surge of pride and determination. "You heard the Admiral," he said, addressing his crew. "Let's show them what we're capable of." The fleet began to mobilize, engines roaring to life as ships formed up in precise formations. The battleship Montana led the vanguard, its sleek hull cutting through the void like a knife. Behind it, a formidable array of dreadnoughts, aircraft carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and corvettes followed in perfect synchronization. As the fleet transitioned to hyperspace, the stars outside the viewport stretched into elongated streaks of light, creating a mesmerizing tunnel effect. The journey to the Beta Lyrae system would be swift, thanks to the advanced engines installed on each vessel. Chapter 16: The Meeting of Minds. The Grand Hall of the Koran Palace was a testament to their advanced and artistic civilization. The walls shimmered with a bioluminescent glow, casting an ethereal light over the intricate carvings that depicted the history and achievements of the Korans. The high ceilings arched gracefully, supported by pillars that seemed to pulse with life, a testament to their bioengineering prowess. As Varrock and Goru walked through the entrance, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and respect for their hosts. The air was filled with the faint, sweet fragrance, a subtle reminder of the Korans' ability to manipulate their environment to create a harmonious and pleasant atmosphere. Zamer led the Drakvian delegation through the hall, his antennae twitching in a rhythm that seemed almost ceremonial. Flanked by his guards, he exuded an air of calm authority. "We are honored to welcome you to our home," Zamer said, his voice resonating with the hum of the palace. "The Korans believe in mutual respect and cooperation, and we hope this meeting will pave the way for a prosperous alliance." Varrock inclined his head respectfully. "We are equally honored, Zamer. The Drakvian Empire values the strength and wisdom of the Koran people. We believe that together, we can achieve great things." They reached a large, oval table made of a translucent material that seemed to glow from within. The Koran delegates took their seats, their movements fluid and synchronized, a testament to their hive mentality. Varrock and Goru followed suit, their expressions composed and focused. Zamer began the proceedings. "As you know, the Hyan system holds significant strategic importance. Our people have thrived here, and we have developed technologies and resources that could be of great benefit to the Drakvian Empire. In return, we seek your expertise in military strategy and your advanced weaponry." Varrock nodded thoughtfully. "The Drakvian Empire is prepared to offer our full support in these areas. We have faced many challenges in our conflict with the Terranians, and our experience has honed our strategic capabilities. Additionally, we can provide you with access to our latest technological advancements in weaponry and defense systems." Goru leaned forward, his eyes meeting those of the Koran warriors present. "Our military resources are vast, and we are willing to share them with our allies. However, we must ensure that our collaboration is built on trust and mutual benefit. The Drakvian Empire does not seek to dominate, but to cooperate as equals." A murmur of agreement rippled through the Koran delegation. Zamer's mandibles clicked softly, a sign of contemplation. "Your words are wise, Goru. Trust is indeed the foundation of any successful alliance." Goru, knowing that the Koran knows nothing about humans, intervenes. "Zamer, what we need at this moment is ships and soldiers. The humans enters our territory more and more, and we must stop them." "That's right," Varrock replied. "We lost many ships fighting them, and we need time to replace the lost ships," says Varrock in a solemn voice. "If we are to give you ships, my people must earn something from it," replied Zamer. In the meantime, the journey to the Beta Lyrae system was swift, the hyperspace engines of the fleet propelling them through the stars with unprecedented speed. On the bridge of the battleship Montana, Rear Admiral Carson monitored the status displays, his eyes scanning the data feeds for any signs of trouble. Beside him, his trusted officers and crew prepared for the imminent conflict. The Montana led the vanguard of the Terranian fleet, a formidable array of dreadnoughts, aircraft carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and corvettes following in perfect synchronization. Each vessel was equipped with the latest in Terranian military technology, their weapons primed and ready for battle. As they approached the Beta Lyrae system, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the stars outside the viewports returning to their normal pinpoints of light. The tactical display lit up with the positions of the Drakvian defenses, an array of ships and space stations, their weapons systems active and scanning for threats. Admiral Darius's voice came over the fleet-wide channel, calm and authoritative. "All ships, this is Admiral Darius. We have arrived at Beta Lyrae. Our objective is clear. Disable their defenses and secure the system. Rear Admiral Carson, you have command of the Vanguard. Lead us to victory." Carson straightened, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. "Understood, Admiral. All ships, form up and prepare for combat. Engage at will." The Montana surged forward, its engines roaring as it led the charge. Behind it, the fleet followed, their formations tight and disciplined. The Drakvian defenses opened fire, a barrage of energy beams and missiles streaking towards the Terranian ships. "Shields up," Carson ordered. "Return fire." The Montana's advanced shielding systems absorbed the initial impact, the energy dispersing harmlessly across the ship's surface. The battleship's heavy cannons roared to life, sending a salvo of plasma bolts and railgun projectiles towards the Drakvian ships. Explosions rippled through the enemy formations as the Terranian firepower found its marks. "Focus on their command ships," Carson instructed. "Take out their leaders and the rest will fall into disarray." The Montana's targeting systems locked onto a Drakvian dreadnought, its massive silhouette dominating the tactical display. Carson watched as the ship's railguns charged, their magnetic fields building to launch projectiles at near-light speeds. "Fire," he commanded. The railguns unleashed their deadly payload, the projectiles streaking across the void to slam into the dreadnought's hull. The impact was catastrophic, the ship's armor buckling under the assault. Secondary explosions erupted along its length as critical systems failed, the dreadnought listing to one side before its reactors went critical, obliterating it in a brilliant flash of light. "Target destroyed," Carson confirmed. "Move on to the next one, Admiral Carson. We're detecting a significant energy buildup in the central station," the tactical officer reported. "It looks like they're preparing to activate a super weapon." Carson's eyes narrowed. "We can't let that happen. All ships, concentrate fire on the central station. We need to disable it before they can bring that weapon online." The fleet shifted its focus, the combined firepower of the Terranian ships converging on the central station. The Montana's heavy cannons and missile launchers unleashed a relentless barrage, the station's shields flickering and failing under the sustained assault. "Status on the station?" Carson demanded. "Shields are down, but they're still powering up the weapon," the tactical officer replied. "We need to hit their power core." Carson nodded. "All ships, target the station's power core. Give it everything you've got." The Montana's targeting systems locked onto the station's core, its cannons and railguns cycling for maximum firepower. The battleship unleashed a final, devastating salvo, the projectiles and plasma bolts punching through the station's armor to strike the core. The resulting explosion was immense, the station tearing itself apart in a chain reaction of energy discharges. The shockwave rippled through the battlefield, scattering debris and disrupting the remaining Drakvian ships. "Central station is neutralized," the tactical officer confirmed. "The remaining Drakvian ships are retreating." Carson allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. "Well done, everyone. Secure the area and prepare for any counterattacks. We need to hold this position until reinforcements arrive." As the fleet began to regroup and assess the aftermath of the battle, Carson turned his gaze to the stars beyond the viewports. The capture of the Beta Lyrae system was a significant victory. Now, all that is left is for the ground troops to land on the planets. If you liked this video, please give it a like and share. Thank you.